Hey guys, coming up on the midpoint of the semester, so I really should have two papers from you right now. If I don't have any papers from you, anyway, what I want to talk to you about today is the research paper, and to give you a little bit more guidance on the actual essays, because you guys are struggling a little bit. That's okay, because I am going to let you basically go back and revise these. But what I'm seeing, and this is pretty typical for the literature classes, you guys are basically doing like condensed plot summaries. You're going through movies, or games or texts, whatever, and you're just kind of telling me what happens. And that's not quite what I'm looking for. What I really need you to do is to go through the things that you've selected and tell me basically specific scenes, specific characters, and constantly step back from it and tell me why these particular parts that you're reviewing are important. You've got to break this down, and rather than just saying, here's a bunch of stuff that happened, here are the most important things that happened, and here's why they are important. Just a quick case. Somebody wrote about the movie Waiting to Exhale, and in Waiting to Exhale, there's a lot about leaving jobs and relationships falling apart. Well, you know, if you really want to explore that film, you got to give me some dialogue. What do the characters say at particular points? What do those quotes, what do those snippets actually, what kind of insight do you get from those? What physically happens? And that's really the gist of it. You got to go into specific things and look at, you know, actual parts and connect it back to the central theme that you're trying to connect it to. So one thing that you can do immediately for a revision is to go back to what it is you're looking for, look at a specific thing that happens, and just tell me why that is central to the story and why it is important for readers to pay attention to that. If you can do that, you'll get a few extra points in the grade book, and that's really what you need to focus on as you move forward. Also, I've gotten some students who obviously watched the wrong video. My fault, not yours. Again, that's why I do revisions, because inevitably something like that is going to happen. Some of you wrote the restaurant review, which was actually for the 1101 online class. So I gave you some points for that because I was like, oh, that's obviously just some wires that got crossed. So with these papers, you're literally just picking out texts and analyzing them. If you want a little help, think of there's a genre particularly called a literary analysis. Go online and look up information about a literary analysis. What does it do? How does it operate? That's pretty much all that I'm asking you to do. So I'm going to include a link at the bottom of this video to the literary analysis, because that's the real substance of what we're going for here. We're just picking texts, we're picking things, and just ripping it apart and analyzing every small little bit of it. In the next couple of days, I'm going to start posting about fiction. We're going to look at some short stories, some really depressing short stories, my favorite kind. And we'll start kind of going for a little bit of a synthesis on that. And I'll give you a little guidance on this. Short stories, the way that I look at them, most people start reading a story and they're expecting to be entertained, or they're like, you know, you have Harlequin romance novels, you've got Twilight, you've got 50 Shades of Grey. All these stories are basically meant to just keep you turning pages. They're entertainment writing. Entertainment-oriented writing can be very, very engaging, and it can be sometimes more literary depending. But the short stories that I typically select for this class take a bit different an approach. For me, the short stories that stand out the most are the ones that show some type of deep-seated personal realization, an epitome, if you will. So, if any of you guys have ever seen the old diagram about exposition, plot, the whole rising action thing, and the denouement, conflict resolution, the idea that short stories are supposed to be based completely around conflict, there's a lot more nuance than that. When we get to Flannery O'Connor, Flannery O'Connor has a little bit more specific, like conflict going on. But a lot of the short stories that I find the most captivating are the ones that, you know, not much stuff actually happens at all. I know, thrilling, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to first read Araby, and I would say Small Good Thing. Those stories are so good. Oh, holy crap, they're so good. Like, absolutely foundational for me as a writer and as a thinker. So I have a lot of personal connection to those stories. But again, as you're reading it, you're going to notice that it's just kind of a bunch of stuff that happens. And it can be very difficult for students to go through these stories on the first reading. So you're going to want to take notes. You're going to want to try to pay attention to character names. And, you know, have a basic outline of the stuff that happens. Because in the next YouTube video, I'm going to start really ripping into these stories and start looking at the relationships between the characters and start asking the question, the big question. And this is probably going to be the foundation of the forum question next week. What is the epiphany? As you read those two stories, I want you guys to go into the forum and try to do this by the beginning of next week. What is the epiphany that occurs in Araby and in Small Good Thing? Go into the forum and just share what you think, because I'm anxious to see if you guys are anywhere even near similar in what you think. So let's do that for next week, and I'll have a nice big long James Joyce and video. Yeah, I've had way too much coffee. Y'all have a good day.